Hello and welcome to MINYIP. I'm your host, Blake, and I'm joined by Clinton. Clinton, we're finally back. We're recording some FPL tonight. Back for 2022. It's good to be finally back.
It's been a while, Blake. There's a lot that's been happening the last few weeks. And yeah, it feels good to talk to you again. Throughout the Christmas holidays, believe it or not, there's COVID going on. And and in terms of FPL, it's been fairly chaotic with players getting injuries, COVID wreaking havoc. So it's been quite difficult. So here we are, and we're hoping to dissect what's happening soon because there's a lot of fixtures coming up, and there's lots of things to talk about.
Yeah, it was definitely a busy period there. There was midweek matches going on, so it was pretty hard to fit in recordings around holidays and Christmas and everything that's going on with family and everything. So it's good to finally be back for our Game Week 22 preview show, Clinton. We'll quickly recap how we went last week. So I took a free hit last game week. I did this because my team wasn't looking too good. They had tough fixtures. There was a few injuries around, and I wanted to attack the double game week of West Ham. So I ended up scoring 74 points, which it's above the average. The average points for the game week was 46. So 74, pretty happy with that. Had Fabianski in goal, 9 points. Reguilon 6, Alexander-Arnold 4, Cancelo 2, Demarai Gray 2, Son 6, Bowen scored 21, Rafinha 2, Ronaldo 2. Antonio is my captain, ended up scoring 18 points, and Tony scored another 2. It's the annoying thing for this one, Everton were supposed to play a double game week, but they had their second game postponed. So Gray only scored the 2 points. And my bench, they were just backup options who were on double game week as well. So I had Pickford, Jansen, Keane, and Winks on my bench in the end because that was just as my backup. Overall, pretty happy with how my free hit went, getting the 74 points, because if I didn't play the free hit, my team that I did have in place, they would have scored 45 points. So good bonus of points there. I believe I went slightly up the ranking. So at the moment, I'm ranked 712,000 overall, so slightly higher. How did you go last game week, Clinton, which only finished early this morning? We're recording this on Thursday night.
Yeah, well, very similar, Blake. I took a different way to go about things. I took a -8, so it'd be interesting to see down the track if my decision to take a -8 would be better than yours to take a free hit. And also because of that, interesting to see if you had taken a -8, if you could have reached your score, but I'm not sure if that was the case. Yeah, I scored 74, and then -8. So overall, probably a 66. I had Edison in goal for 2, Trent for, Cancelo 2. Diop was one of my inclusions. The cheap West Ham defender scored me 8. Emerson Royale's been going well for me. He scored 8. Bowen, I had my team 21. I should have captained him, but I didn't. I captained Son, despite him only having a single fixture. I thought he'd score big in that game. He scored 12. And then I had Bernardo Silva 5. Ramsey came off my bench because he was on my bench for 1. Antonio 9. Ronaldo 2. I had Madison in my starting lineup. As you mentioned, they didn't play. He scored 0. Watkins also 0. And bench fodder for the rest. So 74 overall, -8. Yeah, not too bad. I've seen quite a few scores in the 90s. So it all depended if you captained Bowen or not, really. And I think the -8, I'm quite content. As you said, the average was 46. To take a -8 and to bring in those 3. I already had Bowen, actually, so I can't remember who I brought in now. It's been that type of it's been a long game week. It's been about 2 weeks. So I'm looking forward to this week coming around and hopefully get my head around what's happening, Blake. But since our last recording about a month ago, my team has changed a lot, and that's just the nature of the FPL. So you have to roll with the punches, and I think lesson learned. And I'm likely to take a free hit this week, which we'll talk about later. But in hindsight for you, with the amount of COVID situations going on, maybe this time of year free hit isn't as smart. Maybe it might be better used in about a month's time. But I'm in a similar boat for you this week. I'm thinking this week's the week I'm going to attack, despite the fixtures not being great. So, long story short, Blake, I'm slowly making my way at the rankings. I'm not sure if you mentioned your ranking, but the last month I've slowly been climbing up the rankings. I'm now into 1.3 million. So it's still disastrous, but it's not as disastrous as it was.
Yeah, you're slowly getting up there. I did mention I was 712,000.
Yeah.
Since we last recorded, Clinton, they added an extra free hit for all managers, which is very nice of the FPL. So I do still have another one in reserve going forward, and still got the wild card, obviously. Just on that note of taking free hits or taking hits when transferring, Clinton, I know each manager is different in their approach, and it's difficult to tell based on the team structure. But how do you know when to take free hits or take -8s or 12s even to get a good team for the upcoming game week?
This year is as difficult as ever because it's hard to predict the upcoming fixtures, and even with what's been going on, it's hard to predict exactly how the double game weeks will come about over the next couple of months. But ultimately, you have to decide when you'd like to use your chips, and some people have already used different chips, but there's going to be more double game weeks, and you have to decide when is the best time for you and what team you have for that particular game week to realise if a -8, for example, might be better than using it just a free hit. Because, further down the track, if you don't have a free hit left and there's a double game week with a lot of good teams on the double and you can't change your team around, you might end up having to take a -16 at that stage instead of, So that's how everyone's in a different scenario. And for example, I believe game week 27, I think it's very likely that Arsenal and Liverpool will be blanking. But what's interesting about that is in game week 26, it's likely that Liverpool may double. And Mo Salah will be back from the African tournament. And I think they have Leeds and Norwich in that double. So that's an example of things coming up where you need these chips are handy for different reasons. Triple captain, for example, may be the best one used in that situation. But there's lots of, it's changing week by week, day by day. So everyone's team's different. Just attack it whichever way you like. But having chips in the back pocket is quite handy, I think, over the next couple of months.
Yeah, we'll discuss some upcoming fixtures shortly with some potential double rounds coming up. But we'll talk now about our league, Clinton. And our league has been absolutely heating up. There is 1 point separating our top two competitors. Scott is in front by 1 point over David, who it's been a very tight battle, and David's slowly been closing the gap. So it's great to see our fierce competitors competing there. Aaron is in fifth, who's a part of our Patreon. He scored 95 points, which was massive this game week. So the top five are Scott, David, Andrew, Thomas, and Aaron. You're currently in 14th in our league, Clinton, and making a strong climb. I'm in 10th.
Small steps.
Yeah, you're climbing each game week just about, it feels like. The gap's getting tighter. But just on our Patreon. So we've got Scott and Aaron in that, and they're both in the top five. So that might be saying something, Clinton. So if you're watching or listening to the show this evening, make sure you go on to patreon.com and check out the page where for as little as $3 a month, you can join our group chat, which has been flying over the New Year's and Christmas period with messages going backwards and forth every single day about FPL and different fantasy sports content. So make sure you check us out if you happen to be listening or watching the show. Do you have anything further to add about the league there, Clinton?
No, not really. I think, the both boys at the top there are going really well. It's going to be very exciting to see how that pans out. Obviously, David's got the momentum, so Scott's feeling the pressure. But, it's one of those things. What are we? We're only just past halfway. So there's still a long way to go, and all of these double game weeks will, it's very important to pay attention, and these conversations we're having, all helps in terms of making good decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about the fixtures for this game week. So there's a few teams on the double. Currently, the teams that are playing twice are Burnley, Tottenham, Watford, Brighton, Leicester, Man United, Chelsea, Brentford. And yeah, that is it at the moment for game week 22. In my opinion, probably the team with the best double would be Leicester. They've got Burnley and Tottenham. There's still quite a fair few tough fixtures for these double ups. For example, Chelsea, they've got a double, but playing against Man City game one, so makes it pretty tough. Brentford, they've got Liverpool and Man United. Man United are a bit depleted at the moment with a few injuries around the squad, but there's some pretty tough fixtures. Clinton, which team do you reckon's got the best fixtures for this game week?
It's a tricky one. I think it comes down to probably more so specific players, and I think that's one of the main reasons why I'm likely to free hit is I've got quite a few. For example, I've got 3 Man City players who I don't really want to get rid of, but they've only got the single difficult fixture. Whereas I think if you attack, I think Man United and Tottenham, I think they're good. There's some good options there, but then also Leicester's a tricky one. Yes, on paper they've got good fixtures, but there's still, if there's one team that could, for whatever reason with COVID, have a cancellation, it's likely to be Leicester. So I'd be very careful having 3 Leicester players at the moment. So there's a bit to think about, but I think further down the track we will have better game weeks with better doubles, but there's quite a few this week, obviously, but it's a bit tricky. I'm hearing a lot of people suggesting not to free hit because of the fixtures aren't great. But yeah, every team's different. So I do like Tottenham and who did I say, Manchester United as probably my main 2. But also depends if you're choosing attackers or defenders. For example, Leicester, you wouldn't go anywhere near their defense, but their attacking players are going well. Tottenham are actually starting to defend reasonably well. And yeah, there's some Brighton options well in defense maybe you can look at. So it's a tricky one. And yeah, I think the vast majority won't be free hitting. So then it's about getting the best team you can get out there. So if you're like myself, who's likely to be on free hit, that's when the options really open up.
Man United do have good fixtures. They've got Aston Villa and Brentford. Who, if you didn't have any Man United players, who would you be looking at bringing in, considering the injuries in their squad and the likes at the moment?
I think it's very likely that Ronaldo's option number 1. He's had a bit of an injury concern in the last week, but I think that was just potentially a bit more of a rest. So he should be a good option and likely a good captaincy option. De Gea in goal. Man United haven't been great in defence, but he's been getting a lot of saving points. So I think he's a good option in goal. He's probably the best goalkeeper option this week. And the other one who I have at the moment is Bruno. He's been having a disappointing season, but with the lack of good options throughout this double game week, I think he's one who potentially could see a turn in form and get on the score sheet.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's some key players who have got some flags on them at the moment. Salah being the main one. He's Africa at the moment. He's still in 47.2% of teams, Clinton, and he's been transferred out by 1.2 million managers. He's the most transferred out player. The most interesting thing about the transfers in and out this week, Clinton, is that Son has been transferred in by 396,000 and then out by 420.
Well, that's the result of early transfers. He was highly transferred in as the game week started, but yeah, there's 2 weeks pretty much between game weeks, and yeah, he hurt himself in the middle. So Yeah, he's transferred in by all those people, and in the last week, he's been transferred out by all those people. So it's a lesson learnt there for people not to worry or doing early transfers, because that's what can result. So, yeah, it's painful if you're one of those people.
I think a fair few managers are waiting to transfer because currently the most transferred in player for this game week is a player who's not on a double, and it is Jota. They've got Brentford this week. They've actually got some pretty good fixtures coming up. And with no Salah, no Mane, I think a lot of managers are looking at him as the key striker. What do you think about Jota, Clinton?
Well, it's one of those ones, if a lot of people have him in their team already, if you're only making one transfer this week, I think people are making that transfer more so for the next month. But if you're attacking the double game weeks, you'd just for this week in isolation, you'd be going other players on the double. But I think that all those transfers in are people who are eyeing off the next month without Salah and Mane. So, for example, with FreeHit, I won't be having Jota in my FreeHit because I'm really attacking this week. So everyone's different. So all those transfers in are likely those people who maybe brought in Son. I've got rid of him, and probably for Jota as that option for the next month. So, but yeah, all depends on everyone's team, and as I said, depends if you're free hitting or wild. There's actually quite a few people I'm hearing wild carding, but he's a great option over the next month, but not if you're just attacking this game week.
Yeah, just for reference for anyone listening or watching, I'm going off the fixtures that Ben Crellin provides on Twitter. He's the best in the business, Clinton, and you've told me about him for years. And he is probably one of the most crucial people to follow on Twitter. If you're on there, make sure you follow him for fixture updates, because he's got the whole table of possible double game weeks, blanks, when they're playing midweek matches in other competitions and the like. So he's definitely the man to follow. Some other interesting matchups this weekend, Clinton. Everton versus Norwich, which would be a battle of the bottom. I wouldn't be touching any of those players just because you don't know what they're going to put out each week. Brentford.
Well, sorry, Blake. Yeah. Just for example, with that is a lot of people might have Everton players because they attacked the double from the weekend. So if you have the likes of Damari Gray or DCL, they're playing Norwich this week. So you're not bringing them in, but if you already have them, then it could be a blessing. You never know.
Yeah, considering they only ended up playing the single game week last week, it didn't pan out for them in that regard. But hopefully this week against Norwich for those managers. That pretty much will do us for the fixtures at the moment, Clinton. We'll talk through our plans of what we're going to do this week, who we're going to captain and the likes. So at the moment, after my team has returned to its normal state, I've got Loris in goal, Alonso, Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's had COVID. I think he'll still play, but his potential, you never know with the side effects. Like they could rest him. He might not play at all. He's been
in full training. So
okay.
The report is I think it was yesterday. Klopp announced that he'd been in full training, but he might be just saying that, and then he might still. Yeah, there's a lot of ifs, but he could bench him because he might need a bit more rest. But because he's been in training, that doesn't necessarily mean he's back to 100%. He's going to dominate. So it's a tricky one.
Yeah, he's already in my team, so I definitely won't be transferring him out with the home fixture against Brentford. So Alonso, Alexander-Arnold, and Cancelo, who's playing against Chelsea with a single game week. So pretty happy with that defensive lineup of Loris, Alonso, Alexander-Arnold, and Cancelo. Even though it's only a single game week, I'm happy to have Cancelo. He can still score against Chelsea, and they haven't been that strong defensively of late. So they might be able to sneak a few goals in. My biggest concern is that I do have 3 Man City players. So I've currently got Cancelo, De Bruyne, and Bernardo Silva. I potentially might look to move out Bernardo based on my rest of my team's fixtures, but On midfield, De Bruyne, Mount, who's got the double, Bernardo, and Gallagher, who's got an away fixture against Brighton. I think he should be back to playing full minutes, hopefully. Broha's currently got a flag on him at the moment, but I expect him to get up. He's got an away fixture against Wolves. Edouard has got playing against Brighton, obviously, like I just said, and Watkins. He's apparently recovered, and he'll be playing at home against Manchester United, who are very, as we know, very leaky defensively. So I'll be playing him on the field. On my bench, I've got Ramsdale, Smith Rowe, Cash, and Reece James still. So I structured my team over the last month or so that I had a fairly strong bench, and so they had depth for players that would miss out. And I'm at this stage very unsure of what transfers I'm going to make. I don't like the Man City trio against Chelsea, and I want to bring in potentially a Leicester player. So Bernardo could become Maddison, or Cash might even become Reguilon. That's my current plans. Don't necessarily have to make any transfers, but I'd like to have a few more double game week players because currently I've only got Loris, Alonso, and Mount. I'd like a few more there, Clinton.
I wouldn't get rid of Cash. Next week, I believe Aston Villa will have a double, and there's even rumours they could have a triple game week. So, but yeah, I wouldn't trade away any Aston Villa players, especially Cash. I think he's quite a good player. That first, Bernardo. I think he's obviously depending on how Man City structure up, but he's been playing all the time, but his position has drifted further away from goal, I think. So I think that's a pretty wise option to go after Maddison. So if you're only going to do the one, that's the one I'd be looking at.
And my other issue was who to captain this week. So if my only double game week players that I have are Loris, Alonso, and Mount. I don't really trust Tottenham to hold 2 clean sheets. Mount, they're playing against Man City first game, so he might not even score very well there. And so potentially whoever I'm bringing in, I might even be captaining them. So I want to really target a player to captain this week.
Yeah, it's probably wise. And that's obviously without the 2 big dogs up front in Ronaldo and Kane. So that's where you leave yourself short at the moment. And could be a tricky one, but you never know. Everyone might be scrambling to bring those 2 guys in, and then they could falter, which they've been doing recently. So
yeah, for me at the moment, it's tough to move out Watkins, Edouard, or Broha with the good fixtures they've got. And they're actually Broha's in reasonable form, so is Edouard. So I don't really want to transfer out the players that are in form for players that have question marks. So so that's potentially how I'm lining up for this game week, Clinton. How about you?
Yeah, so as I said, looking at my team, as I said, we've got 3 Man City players in Edison, Cancelo, and Bernardo. Currently got Trent, Emerson Royale, who's my first player in the double, Jared Bowen, Son, who's injured, who I need to trade, Maddison, Ronaldo, Watkins, and Antonio. So my team isn't too bad on paper. No doubt, I could completely do a flip and just leave it and just maybe trade Son to someone. But I'm just looking at, we've got 2 free hits. In my opinion, I could easily put them in the back pocket, but I'm thinking this is a good week to attack it. And the main reason I want to do it is I think Kane is the best captaincy option. And I'm a bit worried about the Man City players against Chelsea. And I'm just thinking this week might be a good week to use it. As simple as that. So I'm thinking I am going to free hit. And this afternoon I did a rough team, which I believe you have. And as I said, I have De Gea in goal, and Emerson Royale will probably stay on my team. as I said, this is my first rough draft, and I'm very likely to make a couple of changes. Emerson Royale, at the moment, I've got two Brighton defenders in Cucurella and Lamptey. The formation will be a 3-4-3. Lucas Moura, Fernandez, Madison, and Tillemans for Leicester. And then up front, Ronaldo, Kane, and Dennis, I think would be the most popular trio up front for everyone on FreeHit. So that's the rough team that I've looked at. Potentially, instead of Tillemans, I might actually go for a Chelsea player. And I've still got Bowen in there, but that's just a placeholder. I'm likely just to change him for a cheaper option. I could upgrade the Brighton guys, but that's the rough team I'm looking at. De Gea will definitely be in goal. And yeah, I'm likely to triple up on the Man United boys who I've got there. Likely to triple up on those three Tottenham players. And I like Dennis. Madison will stay. And then it's about working out those last two defenders and that fourth midfielder. So that's what I'm looking at. The question is if I get cold feet and think maybe it's safer just to hold it FreeHit. So that's what I'm looking at. And the next 24 hours with news, whether it be COVID or injuries, might be telling because, who knows, Ronaldo might be worse than people have suggested. So a lot of ifs and buts, but that's what I'm looking at, Blake.
And will you be looking to captain Kane if you do the FreeHit?
100%. Obviously they played this morning versus Chelsea. I'm yet to see any highlights, or I don't know how Kane went or performed. Obviously they didn't score, but I'll look into that a bit more in detail because from what I've heard, they need to get some results. Son's out injured, and he's going to be the man. It's the derby against Arsenal. As much as I'd love to see Arsenal win comfortably, Kane in the previous results always goes well against Arsenal. So it's a tricky one, but that's why I'm leaning for my captaincy option if I FreeHit, obviously.
Yeah, it looks good. Even without doing the FreeHit, your team doesn't look that bad. Obviously,
No.
but I was just looking at your team as it currently stands, and it's actually not that bad. Like me, you're probably just lacking a few more double game week players, but at least you've already got Madison, Ronaldo, Royale, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not. It's a good team on paper if it was just a single fixture, but it's about I think that. Man City Chelsea game will be very interesting. The West Ham boys are, Bowen in particular is obviously in great form, and Watkins, they played against Man United there a week ago, and they didn't score, but they look really good, and I'm happy with my team going into next week because there's going to be likely to be a few more doubles as we've suggested, and I'm liking how my team looks in general. So. I think this is the week I'm just thinking I'll attack it. If it fails, so be it. I've still got another FreeHit in the bank, and my next after this week will be Operation Get Mo Salah back, and potentially Ronaldo will be the one to make way for that. What are your plans with Salah?
My current plans is to, at this stage, play my wild card when he comes back so I can restructure my whole team, have a look at the fixtures that are coming up, and really attack it that way and use my wild card. I don't want to leave my wild card too late so it doesn't, so I don't get the full effect of the points. And obviously we'll want him back in, providing that they don't have a blank game week. So
they will in 27, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean the week that he comes back, providing so when he comes back to play, and it's announced that he's playing, my plan would be to wildcard to bring him back in if I can't do it via an easy transfer, because it's pretty hard to get up to that kind of value unless you've got someone like a Fernandez or a De Bruyne like I have. Potentially
get injured and then
exactly.
problem solved.
exactly. So it might be an easy fix for me, or it might take my team might be in trouble by then and need a whole restructuring. So it all depend on how my team's looking when we get up to that stage. One thing to consider, Clinton, for you is if there is a massive double game week next week, you can't do 2 free hits in a row, because I wasn't aware of this. Obviously, it's the first time teams are allowed to have 2 free hits in a season. So my plan was to use 2 free hits in a row to approach 2 double game weeks. So that's just something for you to consider and to look at your team for next week. Just about everyone potentially could have a double game week next week.
Yeah, it's all interesting. And just on top of that, Blake, probably in the start of the year, everyone's quite concerned about team value and trying to get in players with the rising value. I think in this current situation, in pretty much the last month, that's probably something you don't worry about whatsoever. What's most important is you're getting a good team out there. And if you're so worried about team value, you'll end up ruining your team chasing the value. And that's proven with early transfers or, in general, just worried too much about that, because it's all about getting the players out there and getting the points instead of chasing the team value. Because I think that's probably one of the more irrelevant things at the moment. But so don't do early transfers just for team value.
I just looked at your team value. You've nearly got a whole mil above me at the moment.
And I was a long way off that. I think after game week 5 or 6, I was a long way behind everyone because I'd made some bad choices. So it's just it's nothing. Don't stress about that, because if you're worried too much about that, you'll be making transfers you regret just because of team value.
Yeah, that'll just about wrap up our show for this evening, Clinton. It's been good to finally be back. If you're listening to us or watching the show on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button and like the show so that we can get some more views and hits for the new year. We're also on all the social media platforms, so your Instagram, your Twitter, TikTok, your favorite. Make sure you follow us on those different channels to stay up to date with how our teams are performing, and we'll try and help you as much as we can with the different platforms. We're playing a lot of different platforms of fantasy sports, and obviously we'll try and help the community as much as possible, especially in the Patreon. So check us out on there as well. If you got anything further to add before we wrap up there, Clint?
Yeah, just a couple more things. Just obviously we play for overall, but also there's a lot of cups that are on. So I think, I'm not sure what stage of the overall cup I bailed out. Maybe it was week 2 or 3, but then I'm already out of the Arsenal Cup. And the Australia Cup, I actually had a win in game week 21. So hopefully that's maybe something I can aim at, trying to win the Australia Cup. What about you?
Yeah, I probably failed to. We haven't really talked about it too much because I went out of the overall cup pretty early as well. I think it was my second week. I lost by 1 point, which was devastating. But I'm still in my 3 other cups. So the Spurs Cup, the Australia Cup, and the Optus Sport League Cup. I'm in by the look of it. So I'm still
also in that too. Yeah,
still in those ones. So pretty happy with that. We like that format of a elimination format. So it's good to something else to follow. But obviously we mainly look at the overall rankings, which we're always striving to be top of that one day.
But in saying that, Blake, the biggest one's the MINYIP Cup. The MINYIP Cup
course.
is
that's a hotly contested battle, that one.
Yeah, so that starts in game week 33. So the illustrious MINYIP Cup will run around the train track in MINYIP. It's going to be an almighty spectacle.
Something will happen, like one of my mates who haven't touched their team for like 12 weeks will just pop up out of nowhere, score 100 and knock me out round 1. James or Tim, one of those guys, it's bound to happen. I just can see it happening already. I'm not looking forward to it, to be honest. That's right.
Obviously, with the we haven't spoken for a month, and obviously we've been changing the way we sort of do this almost every week. But I think I'm excited personally as well is the fact that Arsenal, they lost. I'm not sure, can't remember who they lost to throughout the week, but they're concentrating on the top four. So I'm excited for that reason. I think the top, Man City obviously well clear at the moment, but you never know. Like obviously Chelsea have had some COVID and injury concerns that could hit Man City. So the title race isn't over. Obviously, Man City are hot favourites at the moment, but I'm excited for the top four race. And also, the bottom three relegation's interesting at the moment because Newcastle just bought the almighty New Zealander Chris Wood, and so that might have ruined Burnley's chances of staying up.
Yeah, it's quite interesting that there is some teams that are underperforming of what they did last year. Everton and Leeds are 15th and 16th, who are in dangerous territory there, but hopefully they'll be able to, I think they'll be able to pull through. That bottom four's pretty set, I reckon, in terms of one of those, most of those teams will be relegated. I don't think many of them are going to rise up the ranks too far. But Arsenal 5th and Tottenham 6th, Clinton. It's going to be pretty close. West Ham currently in 4th, but it's going to be very, very tight come the end of this season. I'm looking forward to seeing Tottenham overcome Arsenal on the leaderboard.
Well, it's a big game this week, Blake, so I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. What time's that game, Clinton?
Let's check that right now because
it's a big one for us. Tottenham Arsenal 3:30 a.m.
Oh, you beauty!
I'll talk to you during that one, Clinton.
So, just remember what happened last time. Arsenal dominated at the Emirates. So, yes, it's going to be interesting. I'm just going to look at tomorrow morning, for example. There's still a Liverpool-Arsenal EFL Cup game tomorrow morning. So, there's so many different competitions on, and you have to keep up to date with all the injuries and so on because, it's been an interesting season of FPL. And, I'm hoping to slowly continue to crawl up the rankings.
Yeah, for our Melbourne viewers, their lockout is 5:30 a.m. on Saturday morning. So
that's not good.
If you're doing your transfers, stay up as late as you can on Friday night.
I'd do the opposite. I'd set the alarm at 3:45, and then quickly check your phone for 2 minutes, and then make a call.
You will get the latest information that way.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it for your sleep routines, but it depends on if you're a morning or night person. I definitely will not be up at that hour to make my transfers. I can guarantee you that, Clinton.
It's been done before, but it's just
it probably has.
It's a shocking time zone for us being here in Australia. That with that early morning lockout. Literally we could go to sleep at 9 and then that's still 6 or 7 hours of things. A lot of things could happen in the FPL world, and everyone else in England are adapting to that, and we're fast asleep. Is what it is.
We really can't win. We can't watch the games because they're being played at 2 a.m., 3:30. We can't be up to date with the latest news for lockouts because they're at 12 o'clock at night or 5 o'clock in the morning. You can't win.
If an Australian wins FPL, they deserve something really special.
I think they'd win the prize overall of FPL, but they deserve they deserve something good.
That's our objective for next year.
Not this year?
No, too hard. We're too far away, Blake.
No, I wouldn't say that.
I am. I'm aiming for 100K.
Geez.
You can't win it from where we are, unfortunately.
Top 100K would be very nice from this position.
Scott and David have a minute chance, but reality is, if you're not in the top 50K right now, you're not going to win it.
Well, sorry to break everyone's hearts there.
No, it is what it is. It's a long game. It's a marathon, but it's like you're halfway around the Melbourne Cup and you're just leaving the barriers. That's what it's like. That's how I'm tracking. So,
All right, mate. That'll do us for our Game Week 22 preview show. So thanks for joining us for the new year, and we'll talk to you soon.
well done, Blake.